How's it going, guys? It's Javi here from Weather Sports 5000. Today is September 13th, 2018, as we are approaching the final hours of landfall in North Carolina and South Carolina coast, potentially where it could make landfall. It could make two landfalls, as a matter of fact, but as of right now, it seems like the storm is expected to make landfall near the Wilmington area as probably a Cat 2 or Cat 1, but don't underestimate this hurricane just because it's might be a Cat 2 or Cat 1. We're thankful that it has weakened. Definitely, it was a Cat 4 just 2 days earlier, or even 1 day earlier. But this is still a very. The thing is with this hurricane is that it's going to be very slow moving. It's going to stay over the same area for hours. As you can see, Thursday, you can see that Friday 2 p.m. to Saturday 2 p.m. in that 12-hour period, it only moves about, I would estimate, about 30 miles, and I'm being generous to be honest by saying 30 miles, because you could see that this storm barely moves, and then you could see that it just stays in the same area for a long period of time. Although it's going to be weakening most likely during that time, we're still going to see tropical storm force and even hurricane force winds sustain, not gusts, sustain for at least over 12 hours in the same area, which is definitely a huge worry and could produce more damage than you would expect in the North Carolina coast for a Category 2 or Category 1 hurricane. I could easily expect Category 3 type damage, Category 3 type storm surge erosion, Category 3 type rainfall, and I'm going to show you the current rainfall map right now. And as you can see, that dark purple you see is over 20 inches of rain. The chart doesn't even put the full total of what is to come for the eastern South North Carolina coast, because it's just gonna rain so much. 2 to 3 feet is certainly possible in this area, basically between Myrtle Beach, Morehead City, Cape Fear, Wilmington. You guys are all involved in this heavy rain threat, and you can see that it extends as far west as Charlotte, as far north as Raleigh, North Carolina, and you can see just the whole state of North Carolina and parts of South Carolina are just going to get pummeled by rainfall by this storm. And this is certainly a huge worry because it's already been a wet summer, and adding 20, 30 inches of rain on top of that, including the high winds we're expected to see with this storm over a prolonged period of time. Expect a lot of trees to go down, power outages, flooding potential, and this could be catastrophic. Even though this may be only a Category 1, Category 2 hurricane, it still could produce damage that far exceeds anyone's expectations for a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane. But let's move on as we're going to look at the current radar loop. And as you can see, we're starting to see those rain bands affect the Outer Banks and Wilmington at this point. And we're seeing these rain bands are associated with 75 mile per hour winds or more, which is hurricane force winds. And we're starting to even report sustained winds of hurricane force at this point, especially near the Cape Fear and Morehead City area, where we're seeing those hurricane gusts and hurricane sustained winds rotate around the center. And you could see that this is very slow moving. This storm is currently 100 miles per hour, moving 5 miles per hour, and it's expected to get even slower than that. So we could see a very prolonged period of winds in this area, which is definitely a huge worry because that will bring a lot of trees down and power outages. But people need to keep in mind that the biggest threat to people's lives and what takes the most of people's lives in hurricanes is the flooding, is the water, which is storm surge and inland flooding. And unfortunately, I already proven to you guys that we're going to see heavy rain potential, potentially 2-3 feet, which will most likely bring catastrophic flooding near the Wilmington area and for numerous places in North Carolina and South Carolina. But as for the storm surge, we're expecting a storm surge of 9 to 13 feet between around the Myrtle Beach area up to Morehead City, which is insane. It's never been seen before in a long time in that area. And what's even worse about this is that it's going to stay over the same area for a long time. And I want to continue to emphasize this because this may be a Category 2, Category 1 hurricane, which may not seem that strong to you, but there's still going to be a prolonged period of storm surge, which will make it more which will increase the amount of potential storm surge we could see along the beaches of North Carolina, which could potentially take some lives, unfortunately, if people don't take the right precautions, could produce a lot of damage, inland flooding and coastal flooding. With Wilmington, we see that it's not necessarily right along the coast, but with a river right next to Wilmington, with that heavy rain that's going to downpour over that area, combined with the ongoing storm surge that's going to go up the river, we could potentially see a catastrophic flooding event in the Wilmington area. And let's look at the current winds right now. And this storm has weakened from a Category 4 hurricane to a Category 2 as it's approaching the North Carolina coast due to the strong prevailing upper level winds that are just above the storm. And that's definitely the good news, that it has weakened from a Category 3, Category 4 hurricane, but it is still going to be a very prolonged event, which is definitely gonna produce a lot of damage in those areas. And as you can see, I'm showing you the current brightness temp, or the horizontal polarization, which basically shows where those thunderstorms are rising and where that heat is. And I've been noticing that the heat is transferring more towards the eye due to this ridging that's basically forcing all that heat, all that moisture to the eye, which may strengthen the eye wall, which is definitely unfortunate because the eye wall is where the strongest winds are supposed to be. And if that heat transfers to the eye, we could see that eye wall strengthen, and as a result we could see the storm itself strengthen, which is definitely not good news. But I don't expect much strengthening, or in fact this could even weaken due to the strong wind shear. But it's definitely something to keep in mind, because this storm won't exactly weaken to a Category 1, maybe like we hope. But I'm gonna show you the current okay, I just want to see if I was still recording, but I'm gonna show you the current wind we're seeing from this storm. And as you can see, numerous places along the North Carolina coast are basically at borderline hurricane force sustained winds. We're seeing 67 near Morehead City, 64, 62 near Wilmington, 68, and we're seeing 75 and 77, but it seems like it's just off the coast, but it's basically right at North Carolina's doorstep. And we already experienced hurricane force sustained winds along the North Carolina coast, and we're seeing 56 in Cape Hatteras, and this even extending as far north as Norfolk and as far south as potentially Myrtle Beach, which is experiencing 45-mile-per-hour sustained winds. And keep in mind, these are sustained winds I'm talking about. Let's look at the current gusts, and the gusts are obviously much worse and much more deadly, as they could potentially bring flying debris along this area. And you can see that we're already seeing a hurricane well above hurricane force wind gusts over quite a big area of North Carolina, especially the Outer Banks. We're seeing 85 near the Wilmington area, we're reporting, and 82, and 96 just off the coast, which is definitely a worry, and 99 right near the eye wall. So I'm definitely worried about the winds, as it could potentially bring wind gusts over 100 miles per hour in the Wilmington area, and it's definitely something to keep and watch along with the storm surge. So for North Carolina, South Carolina, I wish you the best for this storm. Make sure to take proper precautions, because this is definitely not a storm to take. I need the right word, but it is definitely a storm to take seriously, and you guys can't let your guard down with this storm, because it is going to be, although it might not be the strongest storm that North Carolina has ever seen, it's going to be very prolonged, and it's going to remain a Category 2 hurricane. And with that prolonged, and I'll give you an example, with Hurricane Katrina, it hit Florida, and keep in mind, Florida is a place that is very well adapted for hurricanes. Hurricane Katrina was only a small Category 1 hurricane, I think only 80 miles per hour when it made landfall. And that storm surprisingly killed, I think, 14 people in Florida, because people didn't let their guard down just because it was a Category 1 hurricane. And the thing with Katrina was that when it hit Florida, it was very slow moving. And thank you guys for watching. I'm running out of time. So Stay safe in North Carolina, and I hope you guys have a great day.